We get the Maddening Cacophony and mill him his entire deck. Take that, because we were dead next turn, because he is a loser, because he's also a loser, and he is gone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Climbing the Ranks, where in this series we kind of just take a deck based on how people actually say what it is, and sort of play it and see what it relates to their score. So, for example, if I'm running I don't know, right now there's a really popular, let's say, the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. That deck's been tested and tested and tested, and it's a very good deck and historic. However, if you're running, say, a, like, 5-colored, non-bridge, just 5-color random junk deck, and you're saying that it wins as much as the Rakdos deck, it's not like completely, like, for say, let's see, it's not completely believable, but it's not believable. It's more on the side of that's fake, you kind of just built it and you just want to brag about it because you won twice on it, while the Rakdos deck is better. So that's basically the series. So today we're going to be running, and yes, the last video I talked about how much I hated this card, but it's just such a fun deck. It's Bruvac, the Grandiloquent, which basically he's just, you mill twice when you mill a card, and that's that simple. So let's just get right into the deck. First off, we have a Merfolk Secret Keeper. Mills 4, and it can be a 0-4 beef. Overwhelmed Apprentice, it's mills 2. Ruin Grab, it's one of the stupidest cards ever printed. Spell Pierce, it counters non-creature spells for 1. And Wash Away, probably one of the best counter spells as a uncommon and for 1. It's pretty crazy, it just counters any commander, which is really cool. Onto our 2-drops. We're running a Drowned Secrets because it mills 2 whenever we cast a spell. Well, a blue spell, but that's basically all the spells in our deck. Essence Scatter, counters target creatures. Iceberg Cancrix, it's basically Rune Crab, but only does 2 cards instead of 3, but it's whenever it's no permanent, so I mean, there's a win-win situation there. Maddening Cacophony, you can win the game with this because it will round half their library up, but when you have Bruvac, it rounds double, so it does their entire library. Negate, because it counters on creatures. 28 Persistent Petitioners, it's, you can tap 4 untapped advisor you control, target player mills 12 cards, and a deck can have any number of named Persistent Petitioners. And Bruvac is also a human advisor, so it counts as 1. So if you get even 3 of these out there and Bruvac, you'll be milling your opponent 24 cards without having to pay mana ability, which is pretty awesome. Wall of the Lost Thoughts, because it has Defender, and when it enters, it basically mills 8. It's similar to the Merfolk Secret Keeper. And Arcane Signet for ramp. Midnight Clock, because it's pretty funny when you're going against another mill deck and you just do this and your entire library and graveyard are shuffled back into your deck. Psychic Corrosion, it's basically Teferi's Tutelage, but you don't draw a card and discard it when it enters the battlefield. Solemnity Vision, it counts as a land, and it is also a instant or sorcery searcher from the top 6 cards of your library. Teferi's Tutelage, like I said, Whirlwind Denial, it's a really good counter spell. Brazen Borrower, it's probably one of the best blue cards ever printed. Didn't say please, it just counters into mill 3. Throat Collapse is the exact same thing. And Sort of Body and Mind, this card is stupid. It gets +2/+2 when it's equipped to a creature, and protection from green and blue. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a 2/2 wolf, and that player mills 10 cards. So if we attach it to Bruvac and we attack with it, Bruvac's first off a 3/6, which is kind of beefy, but it's not a whole lot. But what's also even funnier is that if it does any damage to your opponent, it mills 20 cards, which is pretty awesome. Spark Double, because 2 Bruvacs is not enough. Teferi Master of Time, because it's just fun. Jace Wielder of Mysteries, because if we have no deck in it, or we have no deck, or we just want to mill cards, it's pretty fun. Helm of the Host, because 5 Bruvacs is not enough, which that's just kind of funny. And Lithoform Engine, when we can do like something such as Persistent Petitioners, instead of milling 24, we can mill 28, which is pretty awesome. Next is Patient Rebuilding. At the beginning of your upkeep, each upkeep, your opponent mills 3 cards, or in our case it would be 6, and then you draw a card for each land card put in the graveyard this way. So you have about a 1 in 6 chance, or 2 in 6 chance to draw 2 cards every upkeep, which is pretty awesome. And Time Warp, because you're taking an extra turn. Sublime Epiphany, it's Sublime Epiphany, it can counter Counter target spell, counter target activated or triggered ability, return to target non-land opponent to its opponent's hand, which is pretty good. Create a copy, that's a copy of a target creature you control, which is pretty cool. You won't be able to do Bruvac, but sometimes you can get 2 Ruin Crabs, another persistent petitioner if you need one, and another card that's coming up, Alrund's Epiphany. That's just another turn. This is the card I was talking about, and this is also in the same situation as Maddening Cacophony, because whenever it attacks, it mills half their library rounded up. So if you just have Bruvac, it instantly mills their entire library when it attacks. So it's an instant, I need to get rid of this card or I lose. And Kiora Best of Seaguard, it's also a really good blue enchantment card. Under the lands, Hall of the Storm Giants, Ipnu, Rivulet. You can make opponent sacrifice, you just sacrifice this, target player mills 4 cards, which is pretty good, but it'll more likely be 8. Lonely Sandbar, it's a cycling one if you need another card, and you can also do it. Mystic Sanctuary, you can put an instant or sorcery, 31, sorry, I was going to say 20, I don't know why I said that. 31 snow-covered islands because of the Iceberg Crancrix, Evolving Wild because it's ramp, Fabled Passage because it's also ramp, Ghost Quarter, this card's very good, and you can just sack it and pop one. I believe it's better than the one that came out of the, I can't even remember, jeez, why? It's better than the one that came out of the set that makes it to where each player search their library and each player has to destroy a basic land card. This is just better. It targets any land card and they can put a basic land, but it's any land, which is really nice. And Reliquary Tower because having no maximum hand size in a deck that draws quite a bit, like Jace Wither of Mysteries and some other things, is pretty nice. So let's get right into the games. On to game 1, our hand is looking pretty decent. We have a nice Persistent Petitioners, and we also have a Solemnity Vision, so a nice curve. We're going to play Snow Covered Island. Then we get our Persistent Petitioners right out there. So next turn we do have Bruvac. He does play Cold Steel Heart, which is okay. And we actually do Ruin Crab because I want to start the mill train already. We're going to attack with 1 Persistent Petitioner. He's running, I believe, the new card from the Hinata, the Dawn Crown card from the new Kamigawa set, which is pretty nice, but I don't really care about it. He kills our Ruin Crab, which is kind of funny. We do get the Bruvac out there, and we do attack. Well, no, I don't really want to attack. I want to make him mill more cards, which is just funny. He does a nice ring of, I can't even remember that card, Replicating Ring, my goodness. We do a Solandi Veil, and we just pack. We don't really want to attack. I was going to think about attacking, but I figured that milling more would just be even funnier. And since he's running this kind of deck, there's not many other cards in the that will go off in the graveyard except things like Increasing Vengeance. We do now have enough for Sublime Epiphany, so in case he doesn't want to cast his commander next turn, we do have enough to counter it, which is really funny. We're actually going to do Kiara's Best of Sea God because it's just funny, and he can counter, which he does for paying 1. That sucks. Whatever, he does Thassa's Intervention, and we do attack with both. He says nice, and he's just kind of rubbing in the paint a little bit. He does a Wizard's Spellbook, which is a very fun card. He creates a copy of, he just draws a card, and he sometimes can create copies with it, which is stupid, but it's also kind of fun. We do Evolving Wilds, and then we do Alrund's Epiphany, getting 2 more cards. We do attack for some more. I am going to play the Wall of the Lost Thoughts, and next turn we can also do the Sublime Epiphany. So we milled him for 8, attacked him, he's down to 16. He says nice again, but I think he's just joking around. And let's see what he's going to do. He's going to do Wizard Spellbook again, which I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't really want to counter it with things. And then he gets Time Wipe, which we have to counter that because I don't really want to deal with it. So I'm going to create a copy, draw a card, and counter that Time Wipe, and also put his Wizard Spellbook back to his hand, which is just nice. Since we'll have 2 Persistent Petitioners, but we only need 1 more Advisor out there, we don't have to worry about the board wipe, and we hopefully next turn will get it because we have twice the chance to get it. And he's taking forever because he knows he's in a very rough spot right now because I am currently ahead on almost everything. He has less cards in his deck, I have more life than he does, and he's just in a very bad situation. He keeps stalling because that's what almost all blue players do, and eventually he gives in. We get a Time Warp, which is pretty nice, and we also get the Persistent Petitioners, so we can start milling him and probably mill him for the game. He does Prismari Command, which is perfectly fine, and kills one of our birds for some strange reason. Oh wait, he can't kill anything else. We do Time Warp, get another turn. We do mill him for a nice 24 cards and attack for 1, rubbing it in a little bit more. And we're also going to mill him another 24 cards. So he has barely any cards in his deck, and next turn, hopefully, if he doesn't destroy one of our persistent petitioners, we will be able to get him in the game. He does Wizard's Spellbook again, getting our time warp, and takes another turn, but realize he's dead anyways. So next game, we do have a decent hand, and we do decide to keep it. We're going to do Fabled Passage right off the bat because we don't have any, like, we have enough lands, but I just want to get a quick land out there. And he's taking forever to do what in black? I mean, he is playing white-black, and that's a vampire. That's okay, I guess. It's not the best. I would say that it's pretty bad. He does Maverin, the Dusk Apostle, which is pretty dang good. I'm going to do the Bruvac right here. He can't kill any of her stuff, but he can start swarming a little bit. And that's one of the things that this deck does hard with, is swarming. And, for example, things that just instantly destroy it, like Infernal Grasp. We're going to block the one dude who creates everything. I don't know why I can't remember names. I don't want to remember names. So next turn we can get Bruvac out there and start milling him some things. We're going to attack for 1, which is kind of funny. I don't know why he didn't block. He gets a Dark Ritual, and he gets Edgar the Charmed Croom out there. That's fine, I guess. I mean, we can take some damage. We're going to do Bruvac, and then we're going to make him mill 24 cards. Then I thought I was dead for a second because I played a really dumb play, and I realized that we have 1 life left, and we get the Maddening Cacophony and mill him his entire deck. Take that, because we were dead next turn, and he's gone. Game 3, we have nice Spark Double and a lot of persistent petitioners, so we do have the nice curve. We do have perfectly enough for Bruvac, so we can do mill 24 on their turn, well, on our turn 4, which is pretty awesome. He is playing in a Shia deck, and he gets a Zuza, of course he does, so he can play like a Shia on turn 3, but he actually does Master Symmetrist, which is interesting. We do Spark Double on our Bruvac, so now we are making him mill 48 cards every, turn basically, which is pretty awesome. We're going to do a Ghost Quarter, and then we're going to do 2 Persistent Petitioners, so we do have just a 1/2/5 blocker and mill him for 48. So next turn, if he doesn't have anything to destroy, we win, because that's how mill decks go. And since this deck is as stupid as it is, even only having 1 of each card except the Persistent Petitioners, which makes this deck run, that's still very funny. He does Rampaging Brontodon, which does literally nothing at this point. He can attack for quite a bit of damage, but I'm still going to live from this, even if he just attacks with this. He gives it Trample, but whatever, I'm still not going to block, because it's a 12/12 with nothing, really. He can do anything that he desires because he has no land. I mean, he has some mana off of Circle of the Dreams Druid, but it doesn't really matter. He does Bramble Worm, but that just gives him 5 life, and 5 life won't do anything if you can't draw any cards. So we're going to do another 2 Persistent Petitioners, mill him for his entire deck, and say good game. Not even going to attack because he is a loser. Next game, game 4, hand is pretty good, and we're playing against a nice, fun Goblin deck. Like I said earlier, it kind of struggles with Swarm a little bit, which Goblins don't stop doing. We're going to make him mill 4 instead of playing a Persistent Petitioners, because why the heck not? Because we don't have another land to do Bruvac. So if we had another land, I probably would have done it. That's fine. Oh, we have Bruvac. That's kind of disappointing. Anyways, we're going to go back into this Fanatical Firebrand. That's perfectly fine. I don't really care about it. It's not going to deal any damage to me anyways. Or like, he can deal 1 damage to me, but it's not going to single-handedly pop any of my creatures because none of them are 1/1s, really. And he gets a Battlecry Goblin. That's perfectly fine. I don't really care about it. We're going to have another Persistent Petitioners. I wish we had another land, but it doesn't matter at this point. And I'm just going to keep him there and waiting for him because he can't do anything. I mean, he can attack, but I won't take any damage. And finally, he doesn't do anything because that's how Goblin players do. If they can't get through, they don't do anything because all of their stuff is little and they need big boys to help them out. Yes, we are going to make him mill 24 because we need to get the mill train rolling again. And I pass back to him. I mean, he can attack if he really wanted to, and he gets the Goro Girl, Disciple of the Ryosei, which is a pretty nice card. He gives everything haste, which is decent, but I don't really care about it because I'm not going to be taking a whole bunch of damage anyways. I only take like 4, which is fine. We get a lethal form engine, and I do decide to play it because we do have some nice triggered abilities that we can do. However, we cannot do it this turn because we used all of our mana for it. But hopefully, and yes, next turn, if he doesn't destroy it with some red artifact destruction, we have the game. He gets another card out there. He does probably the Goro to give everything haste, or wait, he can't. He just does the Battle Guard Goblin, which I don't really care about. I block the 2 strongest things, well, other than Battle Guard Goblin, and we get down to 8 life, and we basically have it in the bag. We do the Persistent Petitioners, we do the double ability on the Persistent Petitioners, and we mill him for 48, which is really funny, and his entire deck is gone, like Mills does, and I'm not even attacked because he's also a loser. So, on to game 5. This is going by really fast because that's what Mill does. It's not slow like everybody thinks it is, other than not waiting forever, and like a lot of blue players do. We get some nice Ruin Crab and Ice Cancrix out right off the bat, so we'll be wait, we can't because he destroys both of them. If we were, we would have started milling him 5 every turn, or 10 with Bruvac out there, which is pretty stupid. We get Teferi's Tutelage, which we draw a card, and then we discard a card. I think twice, and then I do Persistent Petitioners for some reason, because I could have done it next turn. He has Ornithopter, which doesn't do anything right now, but he does get this Tempered Steel, which gives him a 2/4 Ornithopter, which is stupid. We're going to do a double Persistent Petitioners, and hopefully we can get 2 more lands so we can do Maddening Cacophony again because it's funny. He does a Salmaster whatever. We get the Wall of the Lost Thoughts out there. He's running Narset of the Ancient Way, but I don't really care about it. His entire deck's almost gone. I'm just joking. He has over half of his deck still. He gets some vehicle. I don't even want to read it. We do the Teferi's Tutelage again, and we get a land, and we're going to mill him for the entire game, and he is gone. So overall, the deck was pretty decent. I mean, not pretty decent. It was actually a really, really good deck. We did win all the games there, but it's more of losing one in every 10 to 15 games. So it's still a 90% win rate, which is really, really good. But the 2 main things that I've noticed with this deck that it kind of dies to, that I mentioned earlier, was single point or board wipe destruction. It absolutely destroys us. So if they just pop our Bruvac or destroy our whole board with like Persistent Petitioners, it actually really, really hurts us. The second thing I learned is that it can't deal with Swarm at all. Like, it can a little bit if it gets its stuff out there, like if it gets all 28 of its Persistent Petitioners out there, which is highly improbable. It can do something, but most of the time you only have 4 or 5 creatures out there when the swarming starts to happen. So all those games I kind of got a little bit luckier because I still milled them out pretty funnily, but it was just an overall fun game. The card that played the most was obviously the Commander and the Persistent Petitioners, but funnily enough, almost every game we had a Maddening Cacophony, which milled their entire deck, which is really, really funny. And another card that also kind of helped us a little bit win in some of the games with the Lethal Form engine because it doubled us, and it was just funny. And I so wish in one of the last games that we got the Iceberg Crancrix and the Ruin Crab combo, because milling 10 lands every time milling 10 cards every time a land entered, I just thought was pretty funny. So yeah, that's the deck. It's actually really, really good. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated because I am not doing the greatest, like on YouTube wise. And if you have any suggestions for any content, please leave it in the comments down below. Or if you have any suggestions for upcoming decks, please let me know, because building fun decks that I've never played before is quite fun, and especially on this kind of game where anything and everything can happen, which is also really, really fun. So yes, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.